Hi everybody, it's Miss Kraft
and Miss Hanley,
and we are going to be talking about the books that you will be reading and selecting from for the summer reading project. And we want to remind you that we're going to go through these books and we want you to choose a book that you actually would like as opposed to the shortest one, which we know a lot of you do. We're going to go through, and as we're going through, look at the list in front of you and put a little star next to one you might want to read or several that you might want to read, and make sure that you make a selection that is appropriate for you, that you're going to be interested in.
Okay, so our first book is The Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian by SHERMAN ALEXIE. This is a realistic fiction novel about a young Native American boy who lives on a reservation, and he is not necessarily fitting in at his traditional high school. He does befriend somebody else in his school, but there are also a lot of tragedies, a lot of family drama that goes on that he has to deal with. The thing I love most about this book is that there are little doodles inside on the pages, which kind of add a little bit to the reading itself. There are some mature themes in this book, so be warned.
Okay, the next book is called The Impossible Knife of Memory by Laurie Anderson. And basically, this girl and her dad are just moving around, traveling all the time, never staying in one location for any amount of time. Her dad is an Iraqi war veteran, and he has issues with PTSD. And it's trying to work through that and work on their relationship as they're traveling around. Very intense book, but very good.
Great author as well. Next up, we have Nothing But the Truth. This is an Avi novel under a group of books by the same publisher. This is another realistic fiction book about a boy named Philip Malloy who ends up joining the track team and also gets into a bit of trouble when he decides to break the school's policy of silence during the national anthem and hums along. He becomes the center of attention politically across the country. So it's a really great book about a young person kind of breaking the traditional norms and also dealing with that attention when he does.
Okay, and the next one is called Between Shades of Grey by, RUTA SEPETYS.
Yes, RUTA SEPETYS.
Okay, and this one takes place in historical times during World War II, and it takes place in Lithuania, and basically this family is completely torn apart, and the main character is wondering where her family is, what she's going to do, how she's actually going to survive. It is very intense. Kind of heart-wrenching. You might shed a tear or two, but it's an excellent book to read.
Historical fiction as well. Next up, we have The Leaving by Tara ALTABRANDO. This is a mystery novel about children that go missing 11 years prior to the novel starting. 6 kindergartners go missing without a trace. They don't know where they are until 5 of them just show up out of nowhere. They're aged to the amount of time that they have been missing, and none of them really know where they went or how they were missing for so long. And they also don't know the last child where he is and why he hasn't come back either. Lots of interesting stuff. It's a mystery novel, so it'll kind of give you clues as you go. I hear it's a real page turner.
It is.
Great book, The Leaving.
Okay, the next one for you, military history buffs, is I Am a SEAL Team 6 Warrior. This is nonfiction, and this is actually, taking you through the steps of being that SEAL Team 6 Warrior, the training, some of the battles they've been through. So for those who are into the military and action, this is the book for you.
Howard Wasden, he talks about his childhood and how he got into the military. There is some mature content in the book though, so be warned. Next up, we have Codename Verify, which is another historical fiction novel about a British spy plane crashing into Nazi-occupied France. The pilot and the passenger are best friends. They basically try to figure out how they're going to survive in Nazi Germany during World War II. And then they start to, get some interesting clues about each other that maybe they're not who they say they are. Really good stuff, historical fiction, some mature content, but very good.
Okay, and the next one is called 0 Day by GANGSEI, something like that.
Yes.
This one it could be realistic fiction because this girl is kidnapped. Her dad is a political figure. She gets kidnapped. Her dad ends up becoming president. And then all of a sudden she reappears. And people are questioning, where was she at? Is there some ulterior motive for her reappearing? It is very action oriented. You're kind of torn whether the main character is a good character or a bad character. So very, very compelling story.
Next up, we have The Secret Life of Bees by Sue Monk Kidd. This is a historical fiction set in the 1960s during the time of the Civil Rights Movement. It's about a young girl who is visiting South Carolina with a black family. She is white and she has to learn about the culture that she basically starts to live with and understand what they're like and become a little bit closer to them. It's a really sweet story about this young girl and the people that she interacts with, living with, some family drama, some family issues. But I would say this is a tearjerker, realistic fiction, very good.
The next one is The Perks of Being a Wallflower. This does have some mature themes in it. Basically, it is a very socially awkward young man who's kind of a loner, and he ends up making friends and good relationships and everything, but realizing that at the end of their high school career, everyone's going their own separate ways. He becomes very sad about it and wondering what his life is going to turn out like. So this is kind of your realistic fiction, something that a lot of high schoolers might go through actually in their experiences.
Absolutely. Something really interesting about the book before we move on is that it is written in like a diary format or a letter format, so it does make it really easy to read. Next up, we have Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. This is a realistic fiction classic that usually students read in high school or in school, but this is a book set in the 1930s during the Great Depression in the Midwest, I believe, or out in California. It's follows two men, George and Lenny, who are migrant workers, kind of walking around the Western United States looking for jobs, looking for work. Lenny is a big, giant guy who really is sweet and wants the best for people, but he is a little bit intellectually handicapped. His friend George kind of helps him along, but there are a lot of intense themes in this book that they talk about. It doesn't have a happy ending, in my opinion, but it is a really great classic novel that everybody should read.
Awesome. Now, when you do your book project for this selection of books, if you're in summer camp, you will get a book. Now, if you decide now that there's a certain book you want, we can provide that for you. If we have any left over, then we can distribute those out as well, so you can get started right away. You are going to be doing the brochure, the same as some of you did last year, so it's got different parts to it. And remember, you're setting a really good first impression for your 8th grade teacher, so you want to do a really good job. So if you want to get started on these books, that's why we're doing this preview. Either get one from us, or you can get one from the library or Amazon or wherever, but let's get started on it, okay?
Awesome.
Hi everyone, it's Miss Kraft
And Miss Hanley.
and we are going to be talking about your summer reading project for 8th grade. And we're going to go through, there's only a limited selection of books, but they're really awesome books. And we're going to kind of talk about them. And we want to make sure that you pick the book that interests you the most, not just the shortest book, although they all look like they're about the same length.
Yeah.
So you want to definitely pick a book that interests you. Okay?
All right, the 3 books that we have for 8th grade advanced language arts. The first is SCYTHE by NEAL Schusterman. This is a book kind of dystopian, set in the future. It's about how the world has basically overcome all hunger, disease, war, no misery, nothing, and basically nobody is dying. So they have to assign people to be the reapers of the world to decide who lives and who dies. It's a really intense book. NEAL Schusterman is known for writing really intense stuff.
Part of a 3-part series that's very compelling. When you end up reading it, you'll probably want to end up reading the next several books. They're really awesome. So definitely recommended for you guys. The next one is Renegades. And for those who like sort of like superhero movies, things like that, all of the characters in here have special abilities, and there's of course a group of good people with special abilities and some not so good, and it's this whole sort of a little bit dystopian type of theme as you're going through, and the battle of good versus evil and the different political things that are going on as they're trying to use their powers for different ways. Very, very exciting non-stop action book.
Yeah. Next up, last up is Orphan Monster Spy by Matt KILLEEN. And I know this was a historical fiction novel that you highly recommended for the 8th graders to read this summer. Go ahead and talk about it.
Okay, so this book is about a girl who has been, I want to say, specially trained by her mom. Basically, it's just the 2 of them, and they have to survive. So her mom has trained her since a child to become an actress, to pretend to be this person. She's physically trained. She was a gymnast. And the girl ends up on her own, and she ends up becoming somewhat of a spy to infiltrate the Nazis. And there's some plot that is going on that she single-handedly is going to try to stop. It is very exciting. There are some rather gruesome scenes in here because it is wartime, just to warn you, but very exciting, very good book. Hope you guys like this.
Those are it for the advanced 8th grade summer reading projects. Remember, guys, pick a book that you like, that you'll be interested in, that you could read all the way through, and make an amazing project for your next year's teachers. We know we want to impress them and give them a good impression on your first day.
Okay, for this advanced project, just to end up, it's going to be the same as last year. If you were in advance, you're going to have some comprehension questions that you need to answer very well with textual evidence. You also need to write an essay on some sort of compelling question relatable to these books. And the third part will be some sort of creative project. They're a little bit different for each book. So that is going to be your assignment again. We want you guys to get started early. So make sure you get these books and get going on it. They're really good.
Definitely.
Okay, see you guys later.
See ya.